I was so confident, humbly though, just for me to get rejected by every single school. Maybe this chit chat get ready week was a bad idea. Maybe I should have just talked to y'all barefaced. I did not think I was gonna be crying. What's up, y'all? It's your girl Haley J. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I am a lifestyle, beauty, and career content creator. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you for coming back. I hope you love the video. And before we get started, please don't forget to rate, comment, and also if you like the vibes, you gonna like the vibes, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Thank you. That being said, we're talking, let's get right into it. So today I'm doing my first chit chat. Get ready with me. I'm super excited because I always used to watch these videos. If you've been following me for a while on my social media pages, you would know that I have 3 niches on my pages. It's always lifestyle, beauty, and pre-med, right? And on my YouTube channel, I have talked about pre-med all of a little, like just the tiniest bit. I hardly talked about it on here, sorry. And I guess I should tell y'all why, since I haven't talked about it before, but let me give y'all the backstory on why I chose to be in the medical field, healthcare, etc. So when I was a junior in high school, my mom was like, okay, you know, you about to take the ACT, you about to go to college, you about to start applying, like what do you want to do in life? And I actually had no freaking clue. I actually wanted to be a lawyer at first. Let's talk about it. And so when my mom was asking me that question, like, you know, what do you want to do in life? I was like, you know, I want to be a lawyer. She was like, yeah, you want to be a lawyer, but what have you done towards going into that type of field? And I was like, you're right. So I had to reevaluate, you know, my interest. I don't know if y'all are the same way, but we've been going to school since we've been so freaking young. All I ever knew was school and extracurriculars, which involved whatever sport I was doing at the time. Like, I didn't really get a chance to explore what I truly liked and, you know, possibly want to do with my career. Very much the Virgo type A girl in me. I was like, okay, let me sit down and do pros, cons, what I do and don't like. That was not, you know, academic related. What am I looking up on YouTube? What do I really like to look at? At the time, it was hair because I had just went natural, and skin. Always looking at videos. Dr. Pimple Popper was just really popular at the time. I was watching all of her videos, and so I'm like, okay. So I'm going on Google. So I was like, what jobs are related to skin? First thing that popped up, dermatology. I said, okay, bet. What's a dermatologist? Hair physician that deals with hair, skin, and nails. Okay, bet. How do I get there? Med school. What does that look like? Look at the whole thing. I was like, okay, great. And I gotta be on the pre-med track when I'm in college. I'm gonna do that for 4 years. I'm gonna graduate. I'm gonna go to medical school for 4 years, and I'm gonna do residency. That's about 3 years or whatever, right? I already had I had the plan.
I just needed the platform.
Whatever Thug said. The only person in my family who is like really in the medical field was my grandma, and she worked in a pathologist's office. She was not a pathologist. She was just more of the person who took the samples off, like a tech, I guess you could say, in my family. So no one had been anything like dentist, physician, nurse, anything like that, right? It was just gonna be me. Keep that in mind. So I'm telling her about dermatology, blah, blah, blah. She's like, sounds great. Figure that out. Apply for college. Did the 4 years. Boom, 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 right? Also, side note, you see this kisser right here on my, woo! Baby, I did know. One thing about it, I knew that I was not going to take the MCAT during college. I did not do too hot on the ACT. So from that point, I knew that standardized testing just was not my thing, and that's okay. Know your strengths and weaknesses, right? But with that being said, I kind of had to figure out, okay, if I'm not gonna take it when you're quote unquote supposed to, I need to figure out what I'm gonna do instead during my gap year, right? And since knowing how large of a test the MCAT is, how big of a beast it is, it low-key scared me. Like, having that test haunting over me, lingering over me for so many years, when it was time for me to start studying, I sat and I looked at my books and I was like, here we go, like this is what it is. So studied. I was also working full-time, which probably might have not been the best thing, considering, like I said, I'm not a good standardized test taker. So I should have had a lot more dedicated study time for the MCAT. Like, I was definitely trying to juggle way too much. I had a lot on my plate at the time. I was also really getting into content too and trying to be super consistent with that. There's just a lot going on. I was a bit nervous going into the stud or on my test date, which was January 2020. When did I take that? January 2022. That's when I took it, last January. So not super confident leading up to it. When it came down to the day, I was just like, you know, I'm gonna let go and let God, whatever happens, happens, right? And one thing about me, and if you know me, and if any of my friends are watching and you knew me in high school or college, you can attest. Whenever I am super nervous about a test or I get a bad grade back, like, I lose it. Like I said, very much type A Virgo perfectionist. Anytime I got a bad grade back, I just lost it. I thought the world was over. So I get my test result back, and I think I'm gonna put the video in there because what else am I gonna do with it? But I'm gonna put the video in here of when I got my MCAT score back. This test put me through so much mentally. I've been trying to keep a positive attitude. It's just hard. I gotta say a prayer. I gotta log onto the website first, so I got a couple more steps. Oh my God, my heart is beating so fast. I'm literally shaking. Oh, I don't even want to see it. Wait, what did I get? I got a... Now, as you can see in the video, I was very much distraught, and I had to cut the cameras because So I got the score back, which I will probably never share because it's personal and I'd rather not. Wasn't the best, the highest point in life for me, but just know it was low, and definitely not what I expected. I knew that I was going to be within a certain range, but that was lower than what I even expected. So I got that I got that score back, and my heart literally sank. Like I felt my heart drop to the core of the earth. Like I promise y'all. And then I just did not know what to do at that point because I was on the phone with my mom. I'm boohoo crying. I'm stomping, like just hysterical. Like literally, I had to get off the phone with my mom because I couldn't do it. And I just didn't know what to do because at that point it was February. I knew I had to start my prepping for the medical school application cycle to open up in May. I just accept the score that I got, take some time to focus on myself because the prep took, when I say the prep took everything out of me, like I said, I didn't even do all of what I was supposed to do. But working full time, trying to do content, trying to be social, trying to just stay on, just to keep myself alive, working out, eating right, blah, blah, blah. All that while doing MCAT, that took me out. That took me out. So did I want to go through all that again, or do I want to accept the score that I had and just have faith that it's going to get me where I need to get to? So I'm just going through the motions. I'm crying, praying. I'm calling friends, family, anyone that I can to give me some type of advice, motivation, because beforehand I could just kind of work through it, figure it out myself. But at this point I was just like, this is literally my whole life right now. Everything that I've worked towards is for this moment, and I don't know what to do. I don't, and I need some help. So I talked to everybody that I can. I then decided to continue on with my medical school application. It's crazy because I put my all into that application, man. Like I hired an editor for my secondaries, personal statement. I had to pay her, hired her and paid her buku money. Just doing everything to try and apply to all the 15 schools I applied to. That was dummy bread. Like just, I put my all into it, okay? But I just knew that regardless of that 3-number score, my application and who I am as a person was gonna shine so much brighter than what that score said about me. That score did not show who I am as a person, my capabilities, and my strengths, the willpower I have to succeed in the medical field. And not only in the medical field, healthcare, but as a doctor. So I was like, you know what? They'll look at my application more holistically. Like, of course, I knew I was gonna get some rejections simply because of the score, and that's okay, but I just knew one school was gonna take me, right? I kept going, rejection after rejection. I got an interview for a school that was in my home state, Missouri. I had an interview in one of those schools. I thought it went fantastic. I wasn't even nervous for that. I was so confident. Humbly though, just for me to get rejected by every single school. And I'm not gonna cry. Ooh, don't cry. I just did my makeup. I just put powder on, please. Just for me to get rejected by every single school I applied to. Some schools didn't even have the courtesy of responding back to me in a timely manner. I got my last rejection once the next cycle happened. I can't even explain to y'all the feelings that I went through. Again, my heart sank because I was just so appalled. I was baffled that not even one school wanted me. It was just so many months. Cause I honestly, I had that interview in October, right after homecoming of last year. Once I got that rejection, I was just like, that's it. Because also interview season, usually winter. Of course, sometimes you got some outliers where it may happen in like January or whatever. But most interviews happen in the winter time. So I only had one interview that cycle, then I got denied. At that point, I kind of accepted my fate. I was praying to God that a miracle was gonna happen, but I kind of already accepted my fate. And the months of just trying to fake it till I made it was crazy. The amount, I just want to make a row. Suck it up, suck it up. The amount of months of crying, anxiety, and I don't like to use this word because I only prefer people to use it when it's diagnosed, but I damn near want to say I was depressed. My makeup. Maybe this shaggy red wing was a bad idea. Maybe I should have just talked to y'all barefaced. I did not think I was gonna be crying. I thought I was over it. But the amount of months that I was depressed, anxious, so sad, so many tears. And my family's 5 hours away. My mom's calling me every single day. Are you okay? Are you okay? I'm like, I'm fine. She's like, what do you want to do? Almost every other week. And I'm just like, Mom, I'll keep telling her like, just give me some time, give me some time. But I truly didn't even know if I wanted to do that shit again and go through that trauma again. Basically, and this was this year, 2023. Some months went by and I'm just like, okay, what are we doing with our lives? Like, Haley, what are we doing? We can't just sit and work at this little job all the time for the rest of your life. You're not doing that. We need to get it together. Again, lots of prayers, talking to people, and I finally gained my confidence back. Just a slither of confidence, right? Which is all sometimes you really need. I gained that slither of confidence back, right? I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna tackle it again. I'm gonna tackle the MCAT again, right? I told my mom. She was like, what do we need to do so you can do better this time? Had a whole conversation with my family, again, 5 hours away. And they were gonna help me financially so that I can focus on studying for the MCAT full time, which I was so incredibly grateful for, just to have that support system available to me. But even after having all these conversations with people, my mom, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna do the MCAT, I'm gonna study for this long, I'm gonna take it here, then I'm gonna apply, all the things. But yet, still in the back of my mind, I was just like, do I really wanna go through this again? And there was a couple of signs along the way that led me to being like, you know what? Let's do some more thinking. Not like I hadn't had enough time to think anyway, but let's just do some more thinking, right? So there's a couple of things, I would say 3 things that really, if you've watched Love Island, then you're gonna get this reference, but maybe turn my head, right? So first thing was, it's kind of like 2 things in one, but just the culture of residency, right? If you're not familiar with residency of being a medical student or being a resident, you already graduated from medical school. Depending on your field, you'll do about, usually minimum is like 3 years residency where you're basically still a student, but you're working crazy amount. You're graduating from medical school. You have this probably average salary of like what, 50K or something, maybe even that, but you still got all these loans. You're not making that much. You're working like 80 hours in the hospital and you're doing that for, again, minimum is like 3 years, I'm pretty sure. But if you're a surgery resident, oh baby, you finna be a resident for a whole nother decade, and you in that for a long time, right? So that had always not freaked me out, but that was just something that I just did not find appealing, I'm not gonna lie. And I did my research when I was in high school and I was just like, okay, like if that's what they do and that's what I have to do to be a dermatologist because I like skin, if A plus B equals C, if 2 plus 2 equals 4, and 5 plus 5 equals 10, like that's what I'm gonna do. That's what I gotta do, that's what I gotta do, but I don't like it. Again, had some time during my gap year, lots of different things popped up. The amount of the suicide rate of residents in the United States is crazy. And there were so many stories. I follow a lot of pre-med social media content creators, whatever you want to call them. And so many stories of people either they knew or it was just a story within the medical community of this resident took their life because they couldn't handle it anymore. They were overworked, they were stressed. They felt like they wanted to quit, but they couldn't quit because of their family, how they would appear. They didn't want to seem like a failure, all the things, right? It was a what influencer content creator that I follow, and her friend that she had went to, I think it was medical school with, she took her life. She was a resident. She was working crazy hours, 80 hours a week. The normal hourly, what am I saying? The normal work hours in a week in America is 40, which is still too much, but it's 40, right? You're working double that. You're in a hospital basically 24 hours a day. You're not sleeping, barely eating. You do it when you can. You're not socializing. You still have to study while you're also trying to study in the hospital with patients and da-da-da-da. Like, it's way too much. And the girl, which, bless her heart, I hope she's resting in peace and I hope she's at peace. She just could not take it anymore. She had talked to her mom one day and she had felt a little bit better, but then even after that, it still wasn't enough. And she took her life. And she was a Black woman. That, at the time, like I said, not that I was having suicidal thoughts, but it just was not a good place for me. So to see that, I saw myself in her. And knowing how big, like I said, of a perfectionist I am, how much I want to make sure I succeed, I make my parents proud, all their hard work didn't go to waste, like all of that. And I was just like, I don't want to even get to that point. That's not me. That's not me at all. I'm not gonna cry again, please. 2, so again, social media is a large search engine. I love it. TikTok especially. I follow this creator on TikTok. Her name is Jazz Turner, if you know her. She's freaking fantastic. She's mainly big on TikTok, but she started to come on YouTube. But before she got on YouTube, she had got started, I think during the pandemic, I can't remember, but she talked about her story as to how like she got to doing her MBA and blah, blah, blah. She was in law school. Very much type A like myself. She was in law school, barely got through her first year, I'm pretty sure, and she crying, depression. She mentioned just so many dark thoughts. She did therapy, which I am hoping to do sometime soon, but she went to therapy and her therapist said something very profound that a lot of us don't even think of, like, why don't you just quit? All of these emotions, negative emotions, why don't you just quit? She was like, oh, I guess, but I don't have the option to quit. I don't know if her therapist was Black or white or whatever, but she was like, I don't have the option to quit. Like, I'm Black, we don't have that luxury. I told myself I was gonna do this and I'm gonna do it. Felt the same way. And then she was going through digestive problems, y'all. When I said, literally that video is what I was going through step by step, word for word, bar for bar. I have been going through so many digestive problems. It wasn't until after I took that MCAT where I was having bloating out the ass. Like, I could drink water and I look like I'm 5 months pregnant. Huh? I was trying to do the probiotics and da-da-da, like, but my bloating and just in general, skin was bad. Everything was just out of whack. So in her video, in the end, she quit law school. She went and got her MBA. Now she's a full-time content creator and she's doing great. She's doing fantastic, right? Now, she had mentioned this story months ago, like, and at the time I was like, I wonder what if I quit? I wonder if I quit, da-da-da-da. But I was like, girl, you're not quitting, like, just shut up. Like, that's her story, whatever. I seen her YouTube video. I think she dropped it like a couple weeks ago. When I say boo-hoo crying, I was getting ready for work in the morning and I literally had to stop myself in my tracks because I could not stop crying. It spoke volumes to me. Y'all don't even know. And simply because I was just like, why am I letting myself suffer? Why am I letting myself suffer? There's literally no reason. There's absolutely no reason. It is self-infliction at this point. No one pressured me to go into the medical field. They just wanted me to find something that I like, that made good money so I could support myself and hopefully them and my future family and be happy. That's all they in general wanted me to do. And you know how when you're going through something, whether it's like a breakup, a fight with a friend or your significant other, you go on social media, but specifically Twitter, and you see a tweet that just resonates with what you're going through, like, to the T. So I had this tweet come up. And this was actually right after I had sat with my mom. This was maybe a few weeks ago. Right after Jazz's video. I sat with my mom and I cried on the phone. Cried on the phone, which this also happened in Jazz's video too. Cried on the phone with my mom. And I just was like, I don't know what I want to do. I keep trying to tell myself to do this, do that. I was pushing up on the time that I said I was going to start studying for the MCAT, which was October. It's October right now. Again, this was a few weeks ago. Pushing up on October, don't know what I'm doing. And I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't think I want to do this anymore. And she was worried because she had been seeing and hearing me cry for almost a year at this point. And no mom wants to, no parent or person that cares about you wants to see you go through that for so long. And then they're not even in touch with you. Like I said, my parents are 5 hours away. So this is the original tweet that I'm going to read and then the quote tweet. The original tweet said, "Your 20s is not for sticking stuff out. There is always a better opportunity." The quote tweet said, "And don't take this lightly. What you tolerate, what habits you build, etc. in your 20s will be the foundation for your 30s. When things aren't right, when things aren't making you happy, in parentheses, or contributing to your future happiness, pivot and pivot quick." So, called my mom back and I was just like, I don't want to go to medical school anymore. And she was like, yeah, I could tell. And they had asked me before too. They was like, he was like, do you even want to do it anymore? And I felt offended when he said that. I was like, yeah, why would you say that? I'm like, I'm just going through a tough time. That doesn't mean I'm trying to quit. I'm just going through something right now, right? And that was valid. I wasn't trying to quit. I was just like, listen, I'm just trying to figure it out. This shit hard. I don't have anyone to support me in the way that I don't have anyone to emotionally support me in the way that I needed them to get me through that process, right? And not saying he knew something, but he could just tell. I wasn't as excited about it anymore. I'm damn near always crying on the phone when they ask me about it or we're talking about it, or I get anxiety, I get nervous. It just wasn't the same Haley. At that point, I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna pivot. And definitely not where I saw myself, especially like I said, the type of person that I am. People always call me Dr. Jones, Dr. Jones. I made a whole Instagram page. It was called Paging Dr. Jones. Like, I was really in it. Like I said, I was gonna be the first doctor in my family. Lots of pressure that I put on myself to try and do it and to try and stick it out. But one thing that I realized in my gap year was that I've been saying it for a long time. And it's not even to like be corny, because like I feel like it's a little bit corny nowadays, especially with social media and TikTok, but I have been wanting to live a soft life for the longest time. And not the soft life meaning like, oh, I want luxury this, I don't want to work, like da-da-da. Like, when I say a soft life, I genuinely mean like no stress, no anxiety. I want to be happy. I want to be financially free, however that looks. I want to be able to provide for myself, my future family, my kids, my partner. That's the type of soft life that I want. I just knew that not saying being pre-med wasn't gonna get me there, but to have to suffer for 20s are so vital. Even your 30s, like, this is the time, like I said, to figure it out, to have fun, make mistakes. I don't have time to sit and go through medical school, all the stress and anxiety that comes with that. Graduate, might not even get into a residency program, and if I don't, I have to reapply. I'm gonna have a whole medical degree and I have to reapply for residency. Being a resident for X amount of years, depending on what that is, have to go through a twice the amount of hours that a normal American works in a hospital, taking care of people when I can't take care of myself. And one thing about me, and we can talk about this in another video, I love a morning routine. I love getting up, having a slow morning, slow start, getting myself in the mode. And it just was not giving. And there's more things, like I said, related as to why I chose this decision, but long story short. I mean, right now I'm looking at a different route in life. Don't want to say that in this video. And not that I like feel like a failure to y'all, but I'm sorry that you may have followed me for that specific lifestyle. Extremely apologize for that, and I hope that you stick around for the journey. It's gonna be a great one. That's crazy that I'm letting it go, which honestly, I'm like, thank God I'm letting that shit go finally so I can breathe. I'm still gonna talk about my career, just not gonna be pre-med. Hope y'all can stick along, and I appreciate every single one of you who listen to this long ass video. I know it's probably long. Hopefully you don't think I'm corny for crying on camera, but like it's just been such a tough journey for me this past year. 24 was so rough for me. I'm not gonna cry and mess up this makeup, but 24 was so rough. And I'm just happy to finally realize where I wanna go, what I wanna do. And I have been actively getting myself together, talk to a lot of people about that. And I can't wait to share that journey with y'all. I did some stuff today that's so exciting. Like I'll have to do a whole separate video for that, like whole separate video. But